man often realizes the value of a woman only in her absence. This is not just a concept. It is a fundamental truth about human nature. When something is always available, it is easy to take it for granted. When something is constantly present, there is no urgency to appreciate it. But when it is gone, when the space it once occupied is now empty, that is when the mind begins to register its significance. It is in that void, in that missing presence, that realization begins to grow. Men are wired to chase, to pursue, to hunt. It's in their nature. They thrive on challenge, on the thrill of earning something, on the pride of knowing they had to put in effort to attain it. When something comes too easily, when there is no effort required, the value diminishes in their eyes. This is why absence is so powerful. It creates the space for a man to see clearly. It forces him to stop and reflect, to question what he had and whether or not he truly appreciated it. Think about this for a moment. When you are always there, always giving, always available, what message are you sending? You are saying, I will always be here, no matter what you do. You are saying, you don't have to value me because I am not going anywhere. And when a man believes that, he stops putting in effort. He stops trying. He becomes complacent because he knows, consciously or unconsciously, that he doesn't have to earn your presence. But take yourself away. Step back. Let the silence grow. Suddenly the reality changes. The comfort of your presence is gone. The ease of access disappears. Now he is left with nothing but his own thoughts, his own emotions, and the realization that something is missing. That missing piece was you. At first, he may not even recognize it. He may assume he's fine, that he's enjoying his freedom, that nothing has changed. But absence works differently. It seeps into the mind slowly. It isn't loud. It isn't obvious. It's subtle, like a whisper that gets louder over time. Days pass and the small things start to feel different. The good morning texts are no longer there. The comfort of knowing someone cares is suddenly absent. The consistency he never paid attention to is now a glaring hole in his life. And that's when it starts to hit. A man realizes a woman's worth not when she's constantly proving it, but when she is no longer around to do so. The conversations he once took for granted start to feel like a luxury he lost. The attention he once dismissed as normal now feels like something rare. He starts to wonder, why isn't she reaching out? Has she moved on? Is she happier without me? These questions trigger something powerful in a man's psychology. He begins to feel the loss. He begins to doubt his own choices. He starts to compare. Other people won't understand him the way you did. Other experiences won't carry the same depth. And suddenly, what he once overlooked is now something he deeply misses. The power of absence isn't just about making someone miss you. It's about creating the space for true appreciation to develop. It's about allowing a man to come to his own realization rather than forcing it upon him. You see, words don't teach lessons. Experience does. You can tell a man over and over again how much you love him, how much you do for him, how much he should appreciate you. But none of that will truly sink in until he feels the impact of losing you. Until he experiences what life is like without you in it. Your value is just a concept, not a reality. And this is where most people make a mistake. They try to force someone to see their worth. They beg for appreciation. They demand respect. They try to make a man realize what he has before he loses it. But that approach doesn't work. People don't appreciate what they are constantly told to value. They appreciate what they personally feel the loss of. It has to be internal. And that only happens in your absence. Now, does this mean you should disappear just to manipulate someone into wanting you? No. It means you should understand the natural law of human nature. When you give too much without requiring effort in return, the balance is lost. When you are always present, the urgency to cherish you disappears. It is not about playing games. It is about allowing space for genuine appreciation to grow. Think about some of the most valuable things in life. They are not easily accessible. They are not handed out without effort. A diamond is not found on the surface of the earth. It has to be mined, searched for, discovered. And because of that effort, it holds incredible value. The same is true for relationships. When something requires effort, it is seen as valuable. When something is always given freely, it loses its significance. Absence forces reflection. It shifts the dynamic. It creates a situation where a man has no choice but to evaluate what he had. And that is where real appreciation is born. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood. Many believe it means shutting down, becoming cold, or refusing to care, but that is far from the truth. Emotional detachment is about control. It is about mastering your emotions rather than allowing them to master you. When you are emotionally detached, you do not let external circumstances dictate your inner peace. You do not allow someone else's actions to control your thoughts, your mood, or your self-worth. You remain steady, unshaken, unbothered. One of the greatest sources of pain in life is emotional attachment to people who do not reciprocate in the way we expect. You invest your time, your energy, your emotions into someone, and when they do not respond the way you hoped, it feels like a betrayal. You wonder why they are pulling away, why they are acting differently, why they do not see your value. And in that wondering, you spiral. You overanalyze every interaction, searching for clues, trying to decode their words, their silences, their actions. Your mind becomes consumed with the need to understand, to fix, to regain control over a situation that is slipping away from you. But here's the truth. The more emotionally attached you are, the more power you give away. You hand over the keys to your happiness to someone else, expecting them to drive you toward fulfillment. You put your peace in their hands, hoping they will handle it with care. And when they don't, when they disappoint you, when they act in ways you never saw coming, you are left feeling lost, confused, and powerless. Emotional detachment is not about not caring. It is about caring wisely. It is about understanding that your emotions are yours to regulate, that your happiness is your responsibility, and that no one else should have the ability to dictate how you feel about yourself. It is about recognizing that people will come and go, that situations will change, that nothing in life is guaranteed except for your own ability to choose how you respond. When you are emotionally detached, you no longer react impulsively. You do not beg for someone to stay when they want to leave. You do not chase after validation. You do not feel the need to prove your worth. Instead, you stand firm in your own energy, in your own power. You observe rather than react. You watch rather than chase. You let people show you who they are rather than forcing them to be who you want them to be. Many people operate out of fear. The fear of loss, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone. This fear keeps them in situations that no longer serve them. It keeps them attached to people who do not value them. It makes them settle for less than they deserve. But emotional detachment removes that fear. It allows you to walk away with dignity. It allows you to let go without resistance. It gives you the ability to accept what is rather than clinging to what could be. Detachment is a mindset shift. It is the understanding that you do not own anyone. You do not control how someone else feels, what they think, or what they do. You can love deeply, but you must also allow space. You can care, but you must also protect your peace. The moment you stop needing someone to act a certain way in order for you to feel okay, you gain a power that cannot be taken away. When you are emotionally detached, people notice. They feel the shift. They sense the change in your energy. The desperation they once saw in you is no longer there. The constant availability is gone. The willingness to accept breadcrumbs disappears. And suddenly they start wondering. They start questioning. They begin to realize that they no longer have the same hold over you. And this is where everything changes. The dynamic shifts. Because when you are no longer attached, you become magnetic. You exude confidence, strength, and mystery. People start chasing you because you are no longer chasing them. They start valuing you because you are no longer handing over your worth for free. The power is no longer in their hands. It is in yours. Emotional detachment allows you to see things clearly. You no longer view situations through the lens of your emotions. You see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. You recognize when someone is not treating you with the respect you deserve, and instead of trying to force them to change, you simply step back. You no longer waste energy on proving your worth because you already know your worth. When you master emotional detachment, you free yourself from suffering. You no longer let heartbreak define you. You no longer let disappointment shake you. You no longer place your happiness in the hands of someone who may or may not value it. You remain centered, balanced, and unshaken. You become the one who decides how you feel, how you react, and how you move forward. A man's mind works differently than a woman's when it comes to emotions, attachment, and realization. While women tend to process their feelings in real time, men often do so in delayed phases. This is why when a relationship begins to crumble, a woman may feel the pain almost immediately, questioning what went wrong, analyzing the moments that led to this point. But a man, on the other hand, may not fully grasp the impact until much later, when he is forced to sit with the silence, the absence, the void left behind. A man does not feel the full weight of loss when a woman is still accessible, still responding, still lingering in his life in some way. As long as she is there, as long as she is trying to communicate, he does not feel the urgency to reflect. He assumes she is still an option, still available, still within reach. And this is where many women make a crucial mistake. They think that by reminding a man of what they shared, by proving their worth, by staying connected even after a breakup, they can make him see their value. But this only delays the process. It gives him comfort without consequence. It allows him to feel like he still has control, like he can return whenever he chooses. Men realize a woman's worth not through words, not through conversations, not through explanations, but through experience. It is not what you say that makes him see your value. It is what he feels when you are no longer there. When a woman removes herself completely, when she no longer provides the comfort he once took for granted, when she allows space for absence to do its work, that is when he begins to truly reflect. At first, he may enjoy the freedom. He may feel a sense of relief, believing that he now has space to breathe, to explore, to be on his own. But as time passes, something shifts. He starts to notice the small things, the little details that once seemed insignificant but now stand out. He realizes that a man who truly values a woman will always return, not because she asked him to, not because she pleaded, but because he felt something in her absence that no one else could give him. When a woman removes herself from a man's life, something powerful happens. At first, he may not feel much. He may carry on with his daily routine, assuming she is still within reach, that she will always be there, waiting, available. But as time passes, as days turn into weeks, and the silence stretches longer than expected, he begins to notice something. At first, it starts as a subtle feeling, something he cannot quite put into words, a small discomfort, an emptiness he did not anticipate. He scrolls through his phone, expecting a message from her, but there is nothing. He tells himself it does not matter, that he is fine, that life goes on. But then in quiet moments, when he is alone with his thoughts, he starts to remember. He remembers the way she laughed at his jokes, even the ones no one else found funny. He remembers how she listened, how she cared about the smallest details of his life, how she supported him in ways he never acknowledged. He goes about his day, but something feels off. He tries to shake the feeling, filling his time with distractions, with other people, with temporary thrills. But nothing quite fills the space she left behind. Other women do not respond the way she did. They do not understand him the way she did. The energy is different. The connection is missing. And that is when it hits him. He did not just lose a woman. He lost something deeper. He lost the feeling of being truly seen, truly valued, truly understood. He starts to wonder. Did he take her for granted? Did he assume she would always be there? Why did she leave so easily? Why is she not reaching out? He expects her to send a message, to ask how he is doing, to show that she still cares, but she doesn't. And that silence becomes unbearable. The absence that once seemed insignificant now feels overwhelming. It forces him to reflect, to question, to reconsider. This is the moment when a man realizes the difference between a woman who is just passing through his life and a woman who truly mattered. A woman who mattered does not beg for attention, does not chase, does not wait around for him to decide. She values herself enough to walk away when she is not valued. And because of that, she leaves an impact that no one else can replace. The realization does not come instantly. It comes in waves. At first, it is a fleeting thought, something he brushes off. But as time goes on, as the emptiness becomes more apparent, as he notices how different life feels without her, it starts to consume his mind. He starts replaying memories, questioning his decisions, wondering if he made a mistake. And the more he thinks about her, the more he starts to miss her. He remembers the moments when she was there for him, the times she showed up when no one else did. He recalls the little things, the way she looked at him, the way she made him feel, the way she brought peace into his life without even trying. He realizes that what he had with her was not ordinary. It was not something he could find just anywhere. And suddenly, he feels the weight of what he lost. This is why silence is so powerful. This is why absence speaks louder than words. A woman's value is not proven through explanations or arguments. It is felt in her absence. When she removes herself completely, when she no longer gives access to her time, her energy, her emotions, a man is forced to face the reality of his own choices. He can no longer rely on her presence as a safety net. He can no longer assume she will always be there, waiting. This is where the shift happens. If he truly values her, he will return. Not because she asked him to, not because she pressured him, but because he realizes on his own that she is irreplaceable. He will return with a different energy, with a new level of awareness, because he has now felt what life is like without her. And if he does not return, then he was never truly meant to stay. A woman who understands her worth does not wait for a man to figure it out. She continues to live, to grow, to move forward. She does not pause her life for someone else's realization. She knows that her value does not decrease just because someone else failed to see it. And ironically, it is this exact mindset that makes a man realize her worth even more. Because people always want what they can no longer easily have. When a man feels a woman's absence deeply enough, when he experiences what life is like without her presence, without her energy, without the love she freely gave, he begins to understand something he never did before. He sees that she was not just another woman in his life. She was the one who made a difference, the one who stood out, the one who cannot be replaced. And that realization changes everything. When a woman removes herself from a man's life, something profound happens. Not just for him, but for her as well. She begins to see the truth with new eyes. The space that was once filled with worry, overthinking, and waiting for a response is now open for clarity, self-discovery, and growth. In the past, she may have centered her happiness around his presence, his validation, and his attention. But when she chooses to walk away, she shifts the focus back to herself. At first, it is not easy. The silence can feel heavy. She may wonder if he even notices, if he cares, if he is thinking about her the way she thinks about him. But as the days go by, something shifts. She starts to remember who she was before she made him the center of her world. She starts to reconnect with the version of herself that had dreams, goals, and passions that existed outside of him. The woman who was confident, fulfilled, and whole before she allowed his presence to dictate her worth. She begins to see the ways in which she overextended herself, the time she prioritized him at the expense of her own needs, the moment she made excuses for his behavior, ignored the red flags, and settled for less than she deserved. And in that realization, she finds her power. She starts to understand that she was never meant to beg for love, to prove her worth, or to convince someone to see her value. She was meant to be cherished effortlessly, without force, without struggle. The more time she spends in her own energy, the more she heals. She no longer waits for closure from him because she realizes that closure comes from within. She no longer needs an apology to move on because her growth is not dependent on his recognition of his mistakes. She no longer hopes for his return because she starts to understand that the right person will never put her in a position where she has to question her place in their life. As she steps into this newfound confidence, something interesting happens. People around her start to notice the change. She radiates a different energy, an energy of self-assurance, independence, and quiet strength. She is no longer looking for validation from anyone outside of herself. She is no longer seeking love in places that only leave her empty. She is no longer entertaining conversations that drain her, situations that disrespect her, or people who do not see her worth. This transformation does not go unnoticed. The same man who once took her presence for granted begins to feel her absence more deeply. He starts to realize that she was not just another option. She was a woman who brought something rare into his life. And the fact that she is no longer waiting for him, no longer accessible, no longer seeking his attention, makes him see her in a new light. He might try to test the waters to see if she still cares, to check if she is still available. A casual message, a random, "How have you been?" as if nothing happened. But she is no longer the same woman who once dropped everything for him. She is no longer desperate for his attention, no longer willing to settle for inconsistency. She has learned that love is not meant to be earned through suffering, that real love is given freely, not as a reward for waiting. With every passing day, she becomes stronger. She pours into herself in ways she never did before. She invests in her own happiness, her own goals, her own dreams. She surrounds herself with people who uplift her, who recognize her worth without her having to prove it. She builds a life so fulfilling that the thought of losing someone who did not fully appreciate her no longer feels like a loss. And here's the irony. When she stops chasing, stops proving, stops waiting, she becomes the kind of woman a man cannot forget. Not because she played games, not because she manipulated the situation, but because she chose herself. And there is nothing more powerful than a woman who knows her worth. A woman who refuses to settle. A woman who walks away with her dignity intact, knowing that what she offers is rare and that the right man will never need to lose her to realize her value. As she continues to grow, as she embraces the life she is building for herself, she comes to a final realization. She was never the one who needed to prove anything. She was always enough. The absence she created was not for him, it was for her. To reclaim herself, to rediscover her worth, to understand that love should never require suffering, waiting, or begging. She understands that the right love will meet her where she is, without conditions, without hesitation. And in this newfound self-awareness, she finally feels free. When a woman understands her worth and decides to remove herself from a man's life, the silence that follows is not just an absence, it becomes a presence of its own. The void she leaves is not just a lack of communication, it is a shift in energy.